qualitative market research and you can do quantitative market research. And it's not an either or. I can sit in my office and read all the Gartner reports and do all the, the strategic marketing type of analytical stuff. And then I take it to the customer, and the customer says that that's all fine, but right now I have this problem, can you solve it? If you can solve that, I'll buy your product now. So he agrees with me, but he has other priorities. So you have to marry. So that is, when I talk to the customer, that is anecdotal evidence of customers' interest in some other product. But talking to him, I don't know if that's the only person that's interested in that particular solution, or there are 27 others, or 500 others, right? So what you have to do is to, number one, understand the broader market size and the actual interest. Once you marry the qualitative analysis with quantitative analysis, I think you have, and they both are giving the same results. I think you have done a pretty good job of it. So, I think we are, how are we doing on time? It's 10:30 already.
Okay. 4 to 11.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm going to speed up a little bit because there is a lot of material here. In terms of organizational cultural issues, if you're a services company and you start off with a product, your customers may see you as a potential. So that angle you always have to keep in mind. And then having dedicated management and technical resources for product is important. Now, I don't mean this with that much force as I've said it here. What I do want to say is that what I do see is a tendency to take resources that are on the bench and try to develop a product with them. There is nothing wrong with that. People on the bench doesn't mean they can't be good to use, good productive use. At the same time, if there is too much of a revolving door among people who are on the bench, then there's no continuity and there's no leadership left. And that kind of effort doesn't succeed. So what you have to do is to provide some anchoring in terms of some people who are permanently assigned. And then the rest of the people can move and adapt. But there is continuity because of by the virtue of the people what they think kind of people. The third point I think is very important, having a champion. See, you can plan, you can do your homework, you can pick the best possible thing. There is no product effort that I've seen that hasn't run into a certain product. So, like we talked about the battle plans earlier, that no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. So once you get out in the real world and try to do things, you will run into all kinds of challenges. And when those challenges come, it is a natural human tendency to challenge. I've faced this myself many times, where there are people who did not think your idea was good. And they will say things like, we should never have done this. Okay, that kind of thing. And there is realistic room for second guessing when things start to go. Okay, there is nothing wrong. I don't even mean anything sinister by this. All I'm saying is that doubt creeping in is a very natural human tendency. It's a very natural human emotion. And at these types of times, having certain amount of passion, certain amount of zeal, certain amount of enthusiasm can carry the day. And I think it's important that you product as a champion, whether it's you or somebody else in the organization, but somebody who really feels passionately about it. Because enthusiasm is something that is very contagious. Okay? One person who is enthusiastic and passionate about it causes other people to get infected by it. And then I think the whole team has a very different, and when you face all these challenges, there is that spirit, okay, the can-do spirit where you go, okay, bring it on. We'll take this challenge head on and we'll beat that and we'll overcome it and we'll go on and to be victorious. I think all these things do matter. They do matter, particularly when there is a challenge in your life. So I think one of the very important things about having a champion is to provide that kind of spirit. And then finally, the issue of responsibility. So this happens a lot. Whether in a services company or in a product company, some bright young fellow has just been made into a product manager. And he's very excited about a new job and the new things he can do and all that stuff. And before he knows, there are 100 things coming at him from 100 different angles. And he's in a state of shock as to, why did I sign up for all this? And sometimes these people call me and go, I'm a product manager. Why did he call me and say this to me? I don't think that's my job. And at moments like this, I resort to quoting Shakespeare. Uneasy lies the hair that wears around. No, you are it. You are a product manager. You are it. Anything that happens is your problem. There is a very famous story about Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton became president in 1992, very few days into his presidency, somebody woke him up at 3 o'clock in the morning or something. I don't know if it is to sleep, but Bill Clinton was a phenomenally energetic person. I think he used to work through the night a lot of times. But on this particular night, he was really sleeping at 3 o'clock or whatever time it was. And some guy from his cabinet or something, or chief of staff, somebody woke him up and said, there was a crisis in some remote part of the world. So I'll start on the northeastern corner, which is industry analysis and domain analysis. Then there's market analysis, competing products, underlying and upcoming technologies, what technology you use today and what are the new technologies that you may have to use in the future. Of course, the financial analysis talking about things like ROI and profitability and all those things. And then if you're a big company that has multiple products, then what about other products? Not every product is a standalone product. There are products that are part of a portfolio of 4 products, 6 products. Okay? And you only have so much money to invest. Okay, are you better off investing that money in this product or that product? You can face those types of questions. So, to really come up with a good strategy, you think about all this. So I show people this slide, and then what is the next thing I say? If you really have the ability to do all of this analysis well and thoroughly, you probably are in the wrong business. You should stop being a product company and become a consulting firm like me. So my point is, I'm not saying spend 6 months doing analyzing the heck out of everything and produce a shiny report. Okay. But so industry analysis, take an example of industry analysis. So what Andy Grove calls strategic inflection points caused by NX forces, right? Those don't happen every 3 years. Those don't happen every year. They happen once in 10 years, once in 5 years. So at such moments, understanding the path of evolution for the industry is extremely important. And if you don't understand it at that moment, you're going to make the wrong decisions. But can you spend year after year doing lots of industry analysis? It's probably not going to make anything. So you have to always keep an eye on the big picture and decide where you want to invest how much time. And when I say always, I also don't mean that you have to invest your own resources. Buying the Gartner report might be enough at some point. My point is watch what will happen. Because the reason for doing this is this. There are many instances where somebody launched a product and the product became very successful. And this is not just entrepreneurs, this is also happening in big companies. Without much analysis, they launched a product. It became very successful. The problem is, if you don't understand some of this, then you won't know why you're succeeding. If you're not succeeding, you won't know why you're failing. This tells you that what you're doing is indeed right. It's not the right way to do it. You have to use your judgment as to how much time and money you want to invest in doing this. So, now working in companies like IBM and Eaton, and so I have had to face these situations many times. So I thought I'd put together the criteria that we use to make these types of decisions. And this isn't always entirely applicable to every situation. Isn't always applicable to every product, but just food for thought. So let's look at it that way. But in a big company, if you have to make a decision about new product, what are the go no-go criteria? And let me start at the top. So first is strategic alignment. So does it fit your company's strategy? Okay. So to give a silly example, you're IBM and you see automotive market, you are going to think about building a car, obviously. So that's a far out example, but you have to be careful of what your overall company strategy is and what your overall business unit strategy is. Now there are instances, if you look at Nokia used to do, I think used to make rubber or something like that. And at one point Nokia said, no more rubber, we're going to go into mobile phone manufacturing. There are companies who do things like that. Okay, and that's again a strategic inflection point in the line of the company. There is a very well-known company called Management Dimag in Germany that did a similar thing. So there are many instances of this. So I'm not talking about those instances. I'm talking about your basic strategy being intact. If I can launch one more. So does the product leverage your company's and business unit's core competencies, and does it strengthen your brand and not dilute it? Product positioning. So does it have sufficiently unique differentiation without being too niche? So this is a very interesting point. Okay? We all want great amount of differentiation. But if you have lots of differentiation, then your product becomes a niche product. You're painting yourself into a corner. And you also don't want that. So what is the fine line between being such a generic product nobody will remember it? Okay. And having such a unique product that only a few people want to buy. That balancing act is very, very important, very important, especially in a market segment that's mature and growing. And then market needs are clear and addressable by the product. So as a market is key. A lot of times you can see that there is a void here, but exactly what that void is, are you able to narrow that down? And do you think you can actually build one product that can actually fill that? Maybe sometimes the void can only be filled with 4 or 5 different things. So all of these have to be clearly understood as much as possible. What is the market attractiveness? Now, market attractiveness is basically, things like the market is reasonably big. It's not too fragmented. In a fragmented market, you are only addressing one niche market. You're not addressing the entire market. So that's one big challenge you have. And a fragmented market with a lot of little niches will very, very big growth. So all of these things have to be considered. What are the entry barriers of the market? What are the exit barriers of the market? All of these are the markets dominated by certain players. You can have people engaging in anti-competitive behavior. You might have a great idea and a great problem, but the dominant players can absolutely kill you. There are all these types of issues when it comes to markets. So all of these have to be understood. Marketing capability. So this is mainly, what is your brand strength? Do we understand unique aspects of addressing this market? So have a customer who has great amount of expertise in video technology, and they have been doing roaring business, and they wanted to grow. So they decided to go into broadcasting. Now, if you look at say NDTV or Doordarshan, right? So they essentially operate broadcasters, and so their technology was directly applicable. But as they build their products and they have some good products that they're trying to launch, doing business at Doordarshan, because it's a national firm. You go to one office, they might place an order for the entire country. It will be a huge order. It will take a year and a half to get it. Because that kind of huge order is, they look at every product in the world. They have various they require buying persons who are very good experts themselves. So the buying process is very different. So it's like as you go from market segment to market segment, there are unique issues and challenges that you will face. And then the last point is mainly about execution capability. Do you have the people? Do you have the geographic reach? Overall capability to address the market, etc., etc., etc. Technical feasibility, technical capability. So, we talk a lot about innovation these days, right? You want to build an innovative product so that you can leapfrog your competition. But building innovative products does mean certain technical challenges. So you may have a great idea, but do you have the technical capability to build that product? That's also a question you have to answer. Okay. And secondly, your idea might be great, but is it technologically feasible? By which I mean, if the market can only bear $10,000 per copy as the cost, and you can only build the product for $20,000, it's not a commercially viable product. So technical feasibility of being able to build something in a research lab is one thing. Making it into commercially viable product is a different ballgame. So all of this has to be considered. And then you might have a great idea and you think you can build it, but it's going to take you 3.5 years to build that product. Maybe the market opportunity would have passed you by. So you have to do this based on the market time frame. And then always the issue of risk management. I mean, make sure there are no showstoppers, and whatever risks you at least know today, you think you can handle those. Of course, the financial aspects of ROI, total revenue, profitability, whatever your requirements are, this means. And then certain industries have very few government regulations. Certain other industries are heavily regulated. Pharmaceutical industry, healthcare industry, heavily regulated. Telecom industry, not heavily regulated, but there are some very severe and clear and strict regulations that you cannot violate. Retail, I don't know, I've never worked in retail industry, but I would imagine that it's not a heavily regulated industry. So all of these have to be considered as to, at least you don't violate any government regulations, if there are any that apply to your business. I've worked a few years and have done a few things and have learned a few things. And my experiences are entirely based on the things I have done.